Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Let's Compare the United States to China from a channel called Global Things. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a comparison video. I don't know what things they're going to compare. I assume maybe it's going to just be like power related, so it's going to be population. Obviously militaries will be compared, how much money each country has and all that sort of stuff, like the GDP per capita and all these different things. But yeah, we're going to check this out. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Hopefully you're all doing well. And let's jump into this video.
So let's compare the USA to
Ow, this is loud.
China. Today we'll be comparing.
Fuck me, what the fuck is this so loud? I done a music reaction on my Patreon yesterday. That might be it, because I think I turned my audio up.
Comparing these nations in 7 categories, including basic information, geography, populations, economies, qualities of life, the military, and other random crap. To start us off, the United States is a country located in North America and was founded on July 4th, 1776. Its head of state is currently President Joe Biden, who is a member of the Democratic Party. Modern-day China, on the other hand, is located in Eastern Asia and was founded on October 1st, 1949.
Oh, modern-day China. Okay.
Its head of state is President Xi Jinping, who is a member of the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, China is one of only 5 remaining communist countries in the modern world. The United States is famous for landmarks including the Golden Gate Bridge, the Capitol, and the Statue of Liberty. China also hosts famous landmarks including the Great Wall of China and the Forbidden City, where you can find lots of old rock people. The national animal of the United States is the bald eagle, with a population of over 316,000 in the contiguous states today, which is up from just 400 breeding pairs in the 1960s. China's national animal is the giant panda, whose population is sadly endangered, with there just being around 1,800 wild giant pandas.
Well, don't giant pandas basically hate looking after their babies and stuff? Aren't they like really bad parents and all that sort of stuff? And it's really hard to make them, you know, have intercourse. I think there's stuff like that. Like, I think it was at a zoo that there were like there's massive celebrations. They were celebrating like crazy because of 2 pandas having a kid. Or sorry, a panda having a kid or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, they're definitely not a species built for this world.
Today. China is divided into 34 subdivisions, including provinces, special administrative regions, autonomous regions, and some say that thing? China is a very large and consequently geographically diverse nation with dry deserts, a tropical island, some snowy mountains, and a cool forest whose name I will not even try to pronounce.
Yeah, this region's crazy. That's Avatar in a nutshell.
Largest river in China, the Yangtze, runs 3,950 miles or 6,300 kilometers and flows through some of China's largest cities, including Chongqing, Wuhan, Nanjing, and to the north of Shanghai. The United States is divided up into 50 states and 14 not very often thought of territories. It too is a very large nation and is often thought of as one of the most geographically diverse countries, if not the most geographically diverse country in the world. It has multiple deserts, including the Mojave, Sonoran, and Chihuahuan deserts, the tropical climates of Florida and Hawaii, the Arctic climate of Alaska, the huge Rocky Mountain range, the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, and the Great Plains, whose public opinion can basically be summed up by this picture. The US is also
has it all. It has it all.
Importantly home to the Great Lakes system, which it shares with Canada, and it accounts for 21% of the world's freshwater supply. The longest river in the United States, the Missouri River, runs 2,341 miles or 3,768 kilometers and flows from the Rocky Mountains in Montana through much of the Great Plains and connects to the Mississippi River just north of the city of St. Louis. China and the United States are the 3rd and 4th largest countries in the world, depending on who you ask. But either way, both are close to around 3.7 million square miles.
Oh, they're literally the same size. But is this then including, I mean, I guess Hawaii's not much more landmass, is it? Damn, it's really close in terms of size.
In the world, depending on who you ask. But either way, both are close to around 3.7 million square miles in area, or about 9.5 million square kilometers. The United States is home to about 1/3 of a billion people and has an annual population growth rate of 0.57%. China is home to over 1.4 billion people, but has a smaller growth rate at 0.29%. China has so many people that it would take over 4 USAs put together to equal its population, and as such, it is the most populous country in the entire world, with the USA being in 3rd place. However, it is likely in the coming years that India will overtake China's 1st place position, as India's population is growing considerably faster than China's is. In the US, 49.5% of the population is male and 50.5% of the population is female. In China, the gender split is a little more uneven, with 51.3%.
I think the gender split, we kind of know why, although I would have thought it was actually a lot more males because of the one-child policy. Damn. I mean, it's still, in terms of a billion people, there's over a billion people in this country. Even a 1% difference is a lot of people, right? But
3% of the population being male and 48.
So this is a 1.3. This is a 2.6% difference. So 2.6 percent of 100 million would be 2.6 million. So 26 million in a billion. So there's probably like a 37, 38 million difference, I guess.
7% being female. The United States has a population density of about 94 people per square mile, or about 36 people per square kilometer. China is much more densely populated with around 397 people per square mile, or about 153 people per square kilometer. The 10 largest cities in the United States are San Jose, Dallas, San Diego, San Antonio, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Houston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. China's
a lot of sands there. I wouldn't have guessed those cities would be there.
10 largest cities are Xi'an, Wuhan, Nanjing, Chengdu, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Tianjin, Chongqing, Beijing, and Shanghai. An absolute mouthful if you ask me. In China, 71.5% of the population speak Mandarin, 8.5% of the population speaks Wu.
Oh. So, what, as like their first language? I guess more people would speak Mandarin in China. I just guess maybe Wu's the second, like their first language, and then they speak Mandarin as well. I've never heard of Wu.
5% speak Cantonese.
Cantonese I've heard of.
15% speak something else. In addition to this, 52.2% of the population are atheists, 21.9% of the population follow folk religions, 18.2% are Buddhists, and 7.7% practice something else. In the United States, 78.2% of the population speaks English, 13.4% of the population speaks Spanish, 1.1% of the population speaks some form of Chinese, and 7.3% speak something else. The US is actually the 5th largest Spanish-speaking country in the world, sitting just behind the nation of Spain itself. As for religion, 69% of Americans are Christians, 24% are atheist, agnostic, or unaffiliated, and 7% are something else. The currency of the United States is the US dollar, and China's currency is the Chinese yuan. For comparison, 1 US dollar is equal to about 6 yuan 70, and 1 Chinese yuan is equal to about 15 cents. China's GDP of $19.91 trillion trails right behind the United States' GDP of over $25 trillion. This makes the United States and China the world's largest and second largest economies. The United States, with a 1.9% annual GDP growth rate, is growing at less than half the pace of China, whose GDP is growing at a staggering 4.37% each year. And because of this, China is expected to take the United States' first position in the coming years. Now, while the US population only accounts for around 4.2% of the global population, its GDP accounts for about 27% of the global economy. China's population accounts for 18.3% of the global population, while its GDP accounts for about 21.2% of the global economy. The GDP per capita of the United States is over $76,000, making it similar to places like Denmark, Iceland, and Singapore. The Chinese GDP per capita of over $14,000 makes it comparable to places like Chile, the Maldives, and Romania.
That's quite low. I thought China would be higher than that. I know, obviously, it's the amount of money, like the second highest GDP, right? But there's so many people. So, I mean, I guess it does make sense that it's lower. But that's a lot lower than I was expecting for China. Damn.
The US is home to major companies including Apple, Walmart, ExxonMobil, Amazon, Pfizer, Ford, Google, and Microsoft. China is also home to some major companies including Huawei, China Construction Bank, China Mobile, the agriculture...
Is Huawei still like in Western countries? Because I remember when I was younger, like I used to see the phone all the time. And then there was all the controversy about like how it's watching you and stuff, or that's tracking you, basically just using it to track what you do. I don't know if it's been fully banned. I've not seen like Huawei like adverts or in person. I've not seen them for flipping years, but I do remember when I was younger seeing them quite a lot.
Central Bank of China, Alibaba, PetroChina, Tencent, and Sinopec, most of which are at least partially or entirely owned by the Chinese government. Each year, the United States exports about $2.12 trillion worth of goods to other countries. China every year exports about $2.72 trillion worth of goods. This makes China the largest exporter in the world, with the USA in second place.
Made in China, we know that. They're killing it.
China's major exporting strength is further evidenced by the fact that out of the 10 largest ports in the world, 6 of them are Chinese. China's largest exports include products like machinery and equipment, computers and other technology, furniture, plastic products, and vehicles. The main US exports include products like crude oil, refined oil, vehicles and vehicle parts, and integrated circuits. And in addition to exporting trillions in goods each year, both countries also import trillions of dollars worth of goods. The United States imports about $2.4 trillion worth of goods each year, and China imports a little over $2 trillion. This makes the United States and China the world's largest and second largest importers. In addition to this, the United States is also the world's largest oil producer, producing over 11.1 million barrels each day. China is the world's 6th largest producer, producing almost 4 million barrels per day. Each year, China produces over 1 billion metric tons of steel, which is equivalent to over 1 trillion kilograms and almost 2.3 trillion pounds of steel, meaning that China accounts for over half of the world's steel production and is unsurprisingly the world's largest steel producer. The United States produces far less each year at around 85.8 million metric tons, which is equal to around 85.8 billion kilograms and over 187 pounds, meaning that the US accounts for only around 4.4% of global steel production, and is the world's 4th largest producer of steel, sitting behind Japan but producing more than Russia. The United States has a surprisingly low unemployment rate, sitting at around 3.6%. China, by comparison, has a much higher unemployment rate at about 6.1%. The Human Development
6.1%.
Index, or HDI, measures a nation's development by taking into account factors like education, life expectancy, and average incomes. The HDI of the United States is 0.926, which would make it the 17th most developed country in the world. China's HDI is significantly lower at 0.761, which would give it a global
85. Okay, I mean, they do a good job of representing it in a different way. Don't get me wrong, I know China isn't like, because obviously there was so many years before it became rich that it was a very poor country. So I know in that time frame, you're not going to just instantly become like a really well-developed country throughout the entire country. But 85, I was not expecting it to be that low. They do a good job of showing it in a good light in terms of how it looks within the cities and stuff, because damn, bro, that is crazy. It's below Brazil.
rank of 85. The poverty rate of the United States is 14.4%, while China claims to have a 0% poverty rate, which is probably not true. The average income in the United States is $53,490, while China's average income is $13,231. Each year, the United States spends $778 billion on its military, which is equal to about 3% of its GDP. China spends $252 billion on its military, which is equal to about 1.3% of its GDP. This obviously makes the United States the world's largest military spender and China the second largest.
China, what the hell just happened here?
So let's compare.
Sorry. So, I mean, China spends a lot, but in comparison to the US, it's not even close. Because the US has always had a bigger military. But I would have thought China would be spending a lot closer to the US is spending, just to sort of, not even catch up, just to sort of maintain a similar distance. But with that sort of spending, I guess maintenance is a lot of what the US spends their money on. But, I mean, surely they're still just pulling away in terms of military strength.
This obviously makes the United States the world's largest military spender and China the second largest. In fact, the US spends so much on its military that you could add up all the rest of the top 10 spenders and the US would still spend more money. The US Air Force has around 5,370 aircraft compared to the Chinese Air Force's close to 3,000 aircraft. The US Navy has a total of about 430 ships at its disposal with 11 aircraft carriers and 74 submarines. The Chinese Navy has a total close to 335 ships with 2 aircraft carriers and 66 submarines. The US Army has about 8,000 tanks with 1.2 million active duty personnel and almost 800,000 reserve personnel. The Chinese Army has over 6,500 tanks with 2 million active duty personnel and about 500,000 reserve personnel. The US possesses around 3,750 nukes and China has about 350, but these numbers are likely outdated. Overall, the US military is ranked as the strongest in the world, with the Chinese military being the third strongest. Each year, the United States sees 79.3 million tourists, while China sees 65.7 million tourists. This makes the United States and China the third and fourth most visited
Spain's number 2. I guess France would be number 1 because of Paris, pretty much.
In the world, sitting behind Spain with 83.7 million tourists and France with 90 million tourists. Currently, 95.5% of Americans use the internet, which is equal to around 312 million people. In China, that rate is much lower at 70.8%, or about 1 billion people. This means that China is the largest internet-using country in the world and the US is third. So what country do you think wins overall?
Well, I guess it's the US. I mean, it pretty much seemed it was all the US in the positive side of things. But still, it was a really interesting video to see the comparisons and stuff that you don't usually see. Like, obviously, military comparisons and stuff, you always see that stuff. But we were looking at other things that, yeah, you don't usually see. Quality of life, population, geography. I enjoyed the geography one, to be fair. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. Let me know your thoughts. And until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.